Imagine waking up tomorrow to the news that a single decision made overnight has turned certain investors into millionaires, while the rest of the world was left completely in the dark, asleep at the wheel. What if I told you that this very scenario might have already happened, not with a flashy tech stock or a popular cryptocurrency, but with the currency of Iraq, the Iraqi dinar? We are talking about a financial event so significant, so potentially life-altering for those holding this currency, that it has been managed with a level of secrecy that would make a spy thriller seem bland. The whispers in the financial underground are growing into a chorus of conviction. The Iraqi dinar has been revalued behind closed doors, and a surprise is being orchestrated on a global scale, one that powerful entities are desperately trying to keep under wraps until the very last moment. Why would they do this? The answer lies in the sheer tectonic shift this revaluation would cause in the world's economic order. We are not just discussing a slight adjustment in exchange rates, we are talking about a monumental reappraisal of a nation's worth, a move that would catapult Iraq from a war-torn economy to a financial powerhouse overnight, and in doing so, it would redistribute global wealth on a scale we haven't seen in modern times. The mechanisms for this are all in place, hidden in plain sight. Think about the new international banking agreements Iraq has quietly signed, the whispers of a digital currency framework being ready for launch, and the staggering, almost incomprehensible, oil and gas reserves that have finally been properly quantified and are now ready to be leveraged as the bedrock for this new, formidable currency value. This isn't a fantasy, it's a geopolitical and economic masterstroke, years in the making, designed to settle old debts, empower a nation, and create a new class of astute investors who saw the signs when everyone else saw only chaos. The central banks, the International Monetary Fund, they are all playing a delicate game of chess right now, and the final move, the one that will checkmate the entire global financial system's expectations, is the public announcement of a revalued dinar. They don't want this out because the controlled, managed release of this information prevents a global market frenzy, a run on banks, and an economic shockwave that could destabilize other currencies before the new system is fully locked into place. They are building a dam, and they are about to release the water in a controlled flow, but the dam is already full, the value is already set. For those holding dinar, their patience is on the verge of being rewarded in a way that will be studied in economic history books for a century. The evidence is not in the mainstream news, it's in the patterns, in the quiet legislative changes in Iraq's parliament, in the sudden flurry of high-level meetings between Iraqi officials and world financial leaders with no press releases, and in the mathematical certainty that the current, artificially low exchange rate does not, and cannot, reflect the true, immense intrinsic value of the nation. This is the quiet before the storm, the deep breath before the plunge, and for those who are positioned correctly, it is the moment they have been waiting for their entire lives. But this is just the beginning of the story. To understand the full picture, you need to stick with me, because what I'm about to reveal next will connect the dots in a way you've never seen before, proving that this is not a matter of if, but a matter of when. The world will be forced to acknowledge the new reality of the Iraqi dinar. So, let's pull back the curtain even further and look at the cold, hard data that forms the foundation of this inevitable revaluation, the numbers that the mainstream financial media is either ignoring or is complicit in suppressing. First, consider the resource argument, which is the most straightforward and undeniable piece of this puzzle. Iraq sits on a verified treasure trove of over 145 billion barrels of proven oil reserves, consistently ranking in the top 5 globally, and when you add in the vast, largely untapped reserves of natural gas, you are looking at a country whose potential wealth rivals that of Saudi Arabia or Kuwait. Now, ask yourself a simple economic question: does it make any logical sense for a nation with this level of resource wealth to have a currency that is valued at such a microscopic fraction of its oil-rich neighbors? The answer is a resounding no, and this discrepancy is the primary fuel for the revaluation theory. The current exchange rate is a relic of a past era, a post-war artifact designed for stability during a period of reconstruction and conflict. That period is now conclusively over. Iraq has a stable, internationally recognized government, it has defeated its internal threats, and it is now aggressively moving forward with massive infrastructure and development projects that are funded by this very resource wealth. The currency has not been updated to reflect this new, powerful reality, creating a pressure cooker of economic potential that is ready to explode upwards in value. Second, let's talk about the international compliance and banking sector integration, a dry-sounding topic that is absolutely pulsating with significance. For years, one of the biggest hurdles for Iraq and its currency was its standing with international financial watchdogs like the Financial Action Task Force, FATF. Being on the gray or black lists meant global banks were hesitant to deal with the Iraqi dinar, effectively locking it out of the major leagues of world finance. But that has all changed. Iraq has worked tirelessly to meet every single international compliance standard, to tighten its anti-money laundering protocols, and to integrate its banking systems with the global SWIFT network in a transparent and secure way. This is not the action of a country that intends to keep its currency isolated and weak. This is the action of a country preparing its financial infrastructure for a massive, incoming wave of international demand and conversion. They are building the highways for the traffic they know is coming. They have installed the digital systems, the point-of-sale platforms, and the international exchange mechanisms that can only be for one purpose: to handle a currency that is globally traded, respected, and strong. This meticulous, behind-the-scenes work is the most compelling evidence that the revaluation is not a speculative dream but a logistical project with a completion date. The pieces of the puzzle are not just lying on the table, they are being meticulously assembled in a soundproof room, and when the door opens, the finished picture will show a Iraqi dinar with a value that truly mirrors the nation's colossal economic strength and global standing. But the final piece of this puzzle, the human and geopolitical element, is perhaps the most shocking of all, and it's what we need to delve into right now to complete our understanding. Now, let's address the ultimate question. Who are they, and why would a global coalition of powerful interests want to keep this revaluation a surprise? The narrative of a shadowy they is often overused, but in this case, it points to a very real and pragmatic alignment of interests between the Iraqi government itself, major world economic powers, and global financial institutions. This isn't about a malicious conspiracy to hide wealth from the common person, it's about executing the most stable and controlled financial transition in modern history. Think about it from the perspective of the Iraqi government. Their primary goal is national stability and prosperity. Announcing a massive, overnight revaluation without the proper infrastructure in place would be an invitation for chaos. It would trigger hyperinflation within Iraq as the newfound wealth floods the market without the goods and services to absorb it. It would make their exports prohibitively expensive, and it could create a dangerous social divide between those who held dinar and those who did not. A managed, surprise release allows them to control the economic landing, to ensure that social programs, national development funds, and economic safeguards are activated simultaneously with the new rate, preventing internal collapse. On the global stage, they includes the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, who have a vested interest in seeing a stable and economically viable Iraq emerge as a pillar of Middle Eastern stability, not a failed state. A sudden, unmanaged shock to the dinar's value would send violent ripples through the global forex markets, potentially devaluing other currencies and creating unpredictable volatility. A controlled, behind-closed-doors revaluation allows them to orchestrate a soft landing for the global economy, giving key players time to adjust their portfolios and secure their positions. Furthermore, this surprise element is a powerful geopolitical tool. It allows Iraq to settle its enormous outstanding international debts, particularly to Iran and other nations, at the old, low rate before the new, higher rate is announced, a move that would instantly free the nation from its financial burdens and reset its economic sovereignty overnight. This is the surprise they don't want out, because if it were public, it would force their hand prematurely, trigger the very market chaos they are trying to avoid, and could lead to aggressive economic countermeasures from rival nations. The silence, therefore, is not one of deception, but one of strategic necessity. It is the calm, calculated silence of a surgeon preparing for a delicate operation that will save a patient's life. The announcement, when it comes, will be presented as a necessary step in Iraq's economic recovery, a logical outcome of their hard-won stability and vast resources, but the truth is that the real decision, the real revaluation, will have already happened in the boardrooms and government halls days, weeks, or even months before the public ever hears a word. This is how the global financial game is played at the highest levels, and for the Iraqi dinar holder, understanding this game is the key to realizing that your investment is not based on hope, but on the inevitable outcome of a complex, multi-layered geopolitical and economic process that is now in its final, silent stage.